You don't need anything. You don't need to be aligned with the universe. You don't need help from the universe. You don't need to be helped by God. You don't need anything. In fact, to suggest that there is a universe that we need to be helped by is a misunderstanding. There comes a point where the highest form of receiving isn't about asking, it's about knowing that everything is received in our own surrender. And the surrender is the surrendering of thinking we have to do things in order to have things. And this almost sounds contradictory, because it sounds like we can just sit there and then something will just teleport to us. But it's not about not doing in so much as it's about not needing to figure out what to do. And what we tend to do is we look into the future to find some type of nugget, some type of idea to take us from where we're at right now, instead of looking at where we're at right now, seeing what's available, and taking a certain direction that we feel good about. And what we typically do is we might be in a position where we say, well, I don't feel good about any of my options. Well, it's probably from a long line of history of you not choosing the options that you feel good about. You see? So you dug yourself a deeper hole into a position where out of all the options, none of them are favourable for you. But I guarantee you there's a favourable option, even if it's the least even if it's the most favourable out of the least favourable options, you see? So the more that let me give you an example. I'm here right now in my family home. I've come back from my flat in Mexico to visit my sister for the rest of the year. She's very sick. And I don't know what is necessarily going to happen. I don't necessarily have a job. I've been doing what I'm doing now for the past 3 months, and it's worked out well. I'm getting paid to coach people and to help people recognize what they essentially are, which is unconditional happiness. But there's no knowing what's going to happen, you see? The step appears and I just take the step. You see, there's not much more we need to do on that front. You see, the step appears, you take the step. The only problem is I'm not resisting taking the step. So if you're not resisting taking the step, then you'll be very surprised by having that intention, by having that pre-assumed openness, the degree of options that will be available to you. But the problem is that you've got to take a step, and there's a process of taking a step that is usually into the unknown. And that process, that first step, it might even be the first 5 steps that seem like you're moving into the unknown. It's pure creativity. You're not going to have you're not going to have the kind of life that you want to experience if you are restricting yourself to your own plans. Because whatever your plan is not the plan of everything. You've got to see that. However, it doesn't mean that the part of the whole plan, and I'm not suggesting that there's really this whole plan, the universe is there just like scripting it with his little pen and notepad, but I mean that there is a movement of the great. There's a movement of the greater beyond, and that movement is everything working in unison like clockwork. And it doesn't mean to say that your desires, your seeming individual desires, aren't a part of that greater clockwork. The only thing is that greater clockwork, to the degree in which we surrender our individual will, like imagine we're a cog turning in the system as an individual body mind, to the degree we surrender our individual movement, right? If you see a cog is attached to a bigger cog, is attached to a bigger cog, and they're all spinning together, to the degree we surrender our individual movement, like as if, imagine there's cogs, they're all attached to each other. We think we are spinning the cogs but prior to and after, but we're not, right? We're being spun, but also the one next to us is being spun. And it's all ultimately one movement. So to the degree we surrender, I know I've said this 4 times now, but I keep emphasizing on the point. To the degree we surrender our individual will, which is the belief in the individual movement, is to the extent that we have options as the individual. You see? Because we're not here to remove this individual experience. We're here to thrive as an individual experience, to have perfect options, you see? And the perfect option is only one option. We don't like choices. Choices aren't that great, actually. We think we like to have choices, but the highest freedom is to be so free that we don't have to choose. You see? And that freedom, that choiceless freedom, we're just given the path, and the path that we take is just fully surrendered to. That's freedom, right? Freedom that we don't even have to choose. And that is the freedom of the universe. The freedom of the universe is choicelessness. You see? It's pure perfection. Pure choicelessness is actually pure perfection. We think, pure choicelessness, no, I can't choose, that means I'm not free and I don't have free will. No, this is the thing. We have to see that the ultimate freedom is that pure, perfect creativity where, because think about it, a choice means that we have to select options. Pure creativity, there's no options to select. There's only infinite pure creation. So that is the movement of the universe, pure, infinite, pure, perfect creation. And we could almost argue that it is like having infinite options and always picking the best one. But really, it's just that perfect that there is only the best option, period. And that's just the way it is. You see, we can't argue with it. It's the way that it is. That is the way that movement is. So what we're doing is we're learning from an individual point of view that the individual point of view is not the ultimate point of view. However, the ultimate point of view can be coherent with the individual experience. And what we can do is surrender the individual will so that in our individual point of view, which is our life, we have an abundance of everything. We just have abundance, you see. We just have the perfect options. So we surrender the individual will to the greater will, which is our actual will. You see, it's like if you imagine the analogy that my teacher talks about a lot is the analogy of John Smith and King Lear. King Lear doesn't have free will because King Lear is not an individual entity. It's an appropriation over the real being, which is John Smith. See, John Smith's the actor. King Lear is the character he plays in the play. So in the play, King Lear doesn't have any choice. You see, it's all John Smith thinking thoughts, believing he's King Lear. Well, likewise, we are pure infinity, having thoughts, thinking that we're the individual. Now, having the thoughts on behalf of the individual is not the problem. It's the belief in being that individual that's the problem. So, for example, in the play, it's necessary, as King Lear, to have thoughts about his daughters. They're not John Smith's daughters, they're King Lear's daughters. But is it not necessary in the play to act in accordance to the situations that arise with his daughters, which are King Lear's daughters, you see? And this is where we're learning. We're taking the John Smith into the King Lear, but still interacting with the play in a very real, empathetic, compassionate, and coherent way. So the more that we can align, we could say align, you can't really, it's not align in the sense of, I need to get myself into the perfect position. The true alignment is just to recognize what I'm saying, is to understand the thing that I'm actually saying. And with that, that's it. I have a free community. I share meditations every single week and give guidance on this. If you'd like to join, the link's in the description. Have a beautiful day, guys. Take care.